Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is yet another rant. And as you can see by the title, it is my rant on cancel culture. Now, this is a topic that I was debating doing for quite a long time. Actually, I've been on the fence about making this video for like the past year or two. And the reason for that is because it's a topic that is definitely controversial in nature. And it's kind of a hot button issue. And at the same time, I didn't really feel that compelled to do a video on it because a lot of people have already done videos on it. But as of late, I've just been seeing so much, and the reaction that I'm seeing from so many people when it comes to the reveal that someone involved with a project or a creation that they love or admire is not a good person is so destructive and so just disturbing that I just felt like I had to do this video. I felt a genuine compulsion to sit down and do a video on this topic because it does seem like this reaction, this extreme reaction to these revelations is becoming normalized. It's becoming the status quo. And to me, that is scary. And I really wanted to throw my hat into the ring, so to speak, or provide a bit of a battle, so to speak, when it comes to that mindset that's just becoming so prevalent. I just felt like I had to fight back, had to fight against it because I don't see a lot of people doing that. I see a lot of people just accepting what they think is the new status quo, and to me, it's so destructive. It's so insidious that I had to do this video. So, for those of you who aren't aware, cancel culture has become something that has become rather prevalent over the years in media and other forms of entertainment. And what it deals with is when somebody involved with the production of a television show or a movie or is involved in some other aspect of society and they get caught in terms of they wind up getting charged with infractions of the law, or they get revealed to be into things that are considered to be depraved by most of society. They are effectively canceled by large groups of people on the internet and on social media. And a lot of these individuals, they like to say that they're holding these people accountable. They are canceling them for the better good, for the greater good of society as a whole. And if you think about it, in some ways, holding these people accountable, especially people in Hollywood or people who had higher status, who were maybe in the past considered untouchable, there is a positive to that when it comes to holding these individuals accountable for their actions. But this has gone beyond just holding these individuals to what they have done. It's gone beyond holding these individuals accountable. What it's turned into is holding these individuals accountable, but also punishing everyone and essentially canceling everything that these individuals were associated with. And that to me is unacceptable and unfair. And the fact that this is something that's become so widely prevalent, and it's something that is initially the first reaction that a lot of people have to the revelation that so and so is a sicko, or so and so is a criminal, is really upsetting to me, because you are actively choosing to destroy art. You're actively choosing to destroy a creation by making everyone and everything that they've done guilty by association. And that is something that is so destructive, and it ties into a lot of really scary ideas throughout history that became realized and turned into moments of mass censorship. And it reminds me of things like the book burnings. Because if you really think about it, when the books were being burned, it was because of the subject material in those books. They were being burned because the higher the higher power, which maybe that's not the right word, but maybe the higher political power, that's a better word for it, or the people with the highest influence, they felt that those books had irredeemable qualities. So they were to be burned. What separates what people are doing now with this cancel culture idea running rampant like a wildfire nowadays? Like, what separates that from the book burnings? It seems like the ideology is identical. Because when those books were being burned, it was being done by the people that decided that that was something that had to be done. Those people felt that those books had qualities that were damaging to society, damaging to their view of what they felt society should be, or what they felt the good aspects of society are. So you're seeing that repeating itself with cancel culture. You're not seeing people physically actively burning Rick and Morty Blu-rays, but they're burning them in their minds. They're burning them with this ideology. Because Justin Roiland was charged with domestic violence, and he's accused of potentially being engaged with or into uh, sexual relations with underage girls. And that's all incredibly disturbing, depraved stuff. But it's the act of an individual. You really do have to separate the art from the artist. In most instances, when you are consuming art or entertainment or things that are created by not only one person, but an entire group of people. And I really want to kind of focus on the group of people bit, because that's something that I think is completely, totally ignored by what might as well be the masses right now. Because when Justin Roiland was charged with these crimes and all this stuff came out about him, the initial and first reaction by pretty much every single person in the comment section on any video about this topic on YouTube or on social media is that, oh, Rick and Morty is done. I I'm never gonna watch this show again. I feel wrong for liking this show. And you see massive groups of people shaming other people into feeling guilty or feeling bad or trying to force people who still want to be into the show and still want to watch it and still want to support it into condemning it and canceling it. And so I think you have a lot of people who might initially be willing to kind of still support something that they enjoy, but because of the fact that they're being pressured by all these people on social media and they feel all of this pressure all the time, they just react in a way where it's like, well, I don't want to deal with the stress and I don't want to deal with people attacking me because I still like Rick and Morty, so I'm just gonna say, oh yeah, this show is something that I'm done with too. I can't believe what Justin Roiland did. He destroyed the show for me, and it will never be the same. And this is all coming from the opinion, folks, of somebody who's never even watched a single episode of the show, by the way. So it's not like I'm a Rick and Morty fanboy, but I'm choosing Rick and Morty and Justin Roiland because it's one of the more recent instances of this calamity of cancel culture that I'm seeing unfold. People don't realize that by having this mindset and making this mindset so prevalent that everything should be canceled, they are associating the actions of Justin Roiland with the actions of people involved with the show who did nothing wrong, who aren't into the same depraved, sick things that he might be into. And to me, that is wrong. That is completely and totally unfair. And the fact that there aren't more people who are bigger YouTubers, there aren't more people who are celebrities, there aren't more people that are fighting against this widespread ideology that if somebody in Hollywood or somebody who is involved with the creation of a show or a movie is revealed to be problematic, then that product is problematic. And now that product is bad, and now that product should be canceled. And then in the process, everyone that worked on the product should also be canceled because everyone should be punished. And that mindset is completely and totally destructive, and it destroys art. It does. That's why I'm making this video, because I just feel like it's such a destructive mindset and it's getting so wild and out of control right now that if I can do anything to make one person question their initial reaction to something like this, then this will have been something that was well worth it. And another thing I want to point out about this is the hypocrisy of a lot of these individuals that are involved with this mob mentality cancellation of these products and these creations by problematic people. Because you'll have instances where they'll give things a pass. You'll have someone like the actor, I forgot his name, but he was in Shang-Chi, and he said something about some really disgusting stuff about normalizing underage relationships, if I remember correctly. And the guy got a little bit of backlash, but it was very limited, and it's pretty much been swept under the rug. And he's still going to be working in Hollywood, and he hasn't gotten canceled yet by a lot of these people. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to cancel one person, but you're not going to cancel the other. You can't selectively cancel something. Here's an example for you. If you cancel your Netflix subscription, you aren't canceling just a few shows and movies that you don't like while still keeping your subscription. That's not how canceling works. It's a widespread thing. When you cancel something, you cancel everything. And when you're trying to hold individuals accountable and you're canceling the creations that they also helped create along with them, then you're canceling everything. And I think in that instance, people should be more selective because it to me, the purpose of this whole thing is to hold individuals accountable. It's to hold people accountable for their actions. It's not to hold people who had nothing to do with anything, who didn't do anything wrong, accountable for the actions of these people. It's baffling to me that this is a mindset that is lost on so many people when these things happen. I mean, here's another instance of people being selective. Robert Downey Jr., for a good chunk of the 90s and the late 90s, he was getting arrested right and left for various different drug offenses and various different crimes. And people aren't canceling Robert Downey Jr. in the Marvel movies or the Iron Man films, despite the fact that he has a long rap sheet. And they shouldn't, because the man's reformed, he's gotten clean, and he's been what is honestly a model citizen for quite a long time now. But, judging by this logic, as soon as you get charged with any sort of crime, you're canceled. Well, Robert Downey Jr. was charged with numerous crimes and even served time in prison for these crimes in the past. Here's another example of the selective cancellation. Harvey Weinstein, the infamous scumbag abuser who was a really big popular producer in Hollywood. You know what kind of films he was involved with in terms of being an executive producer? Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill films, Scream 1 through 3, numerous others. So by this logic that people have of you do something wrong, you do something bad, we're going to hold you accountable and everything you've ever done, well then everything that Harvey Weinstein has ever produced also needs to be canceled and thrown in the bin too. By this logic. And most people don't do that because it's dumb. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But people, for some reason, lack common sense when it comes to the way that they're reacting or thinking about these things, because they seem to think that life is not problematic. They seem to think that life is mostly solutions and not problems. They seem to think that life is sunshine and rainbows and people get along and nobody is a scumbag and nobody is into some sick, depraved shit on the side and nobody gets involved with domestic violence and everybody is just wonderful. And that's not how things are. That's not how things have been. And in particular, when you look at Hollywood, for instance, it's a very insulated place with a lot of very insulated people. And in a lot of ways, a lot of their behavior, a lot of the stuff that they have been into or were taking part in are things that, because of the power of Hollywood, because of the influence, they were able to get away with it for a long time. So they built this warped ideology in their head of what is right and wrong. And that is something that ties into individuals as well. I'm not going to say that Hollywood in general, everybody in Hollywood, everybody in the industry is depraved or has that warped mindset. I'm just talking about the people that already had that. They became even more warped because of this insulated environment that was Hollywood, and in some ways still is. And I mean, look what with Army Hammer and his cannibalism stuff and all this other, weird, sick, twisted, depraved shit that was revealed when it comes to what he was into. And what I'm getting at also is this is a microcosm of life itself. Life is problematic. Life has problematic people. Life isn't just solutions. And when you have a group of people in an insulated environment, there are bound to be individuals among that group that are not good people. That's just how it is in any social situation with a large population or even a small population. There's bound to be somebody in any group of people that is not necessarily the best person, who doesn't have morals that align with your own, or isn't really into the same politics that you are, and they don't agree with everything that you do. And that's just how it is. And that's how it has been ever since people have gathered in groups in society. So what you were seeing people fighting against is reality. And that's so frustrating to me. And that's why I really feel like I gotta make a video like this and just fight back against this, because they are fighting against reality. They are trying to insert fiction and fantasy as the status quo. They're trying to make it seem like their insulated bubble worldview is the worldview that should be accepted by everybody. That it's the only acceptable worldview. That you have to copy their bubble, otherwise you'll be canceled. That's what happens when people are getting shamed into disowning certain things that they like and they love or they admire. That's what happens when you have this mob mentality that's getting out of control, where people will gang up on other people or just go after others because they just don't agree with the same things that they do. I mean, you're getting people getting canceled because they don't have the same political views as other people. They don't agree with the same politics. That's not even an instance of morals. That's not even an instance of they broke a law. It's they don't have the same politics as I do. So hashtag insert celebrity is here over party. That kind of thing. And I'm like, what the hell is this nonsense? Like when Stallone was getting canceled by people on Twitter because he was considering being a part of a golf club that Trump was a part of. It's just ridiculous to me. It's so absurd. And I just don't get why people can't separate the art from the artist. There are a lot of creations of art throughout history that were created by people that were not necessarily the best people. Like Van Gogh notoriously was kind of a dick. Not really a nice guy. You got Salvador Dali and all the other stuff that he was into. You got all these other artists. Like if you dig deeper, if you look into it, if you actually do your research, you will find that a lot of artists throughout history some of them were into some not necessarily positive or wonderful, great stuff when it comes to today's sensibilities or people's morals. But that's just kind of one of those things. That's just how life is. Life is problematic, and there are problematic people. And sometimes these problematic people create art that is amazing or enjoyable or entertaining. But when it comes to painted art or sculpted art in particular, a lot of that is the work of one individual. So the mindset that people have, okay, that artist was into this, or he was a Nazi sympathizer, or whatever. I'm going to cancel that artist because of that. That I can kind of understand the wavelength more because it's an individual. But when it comes to a TV show like Rick and Morty, or a TV show like Ren and Stimpy, or an actor's entire filmography like Will Smith's films, or films that Harvey Weinstein produced, or movies that starred Robert Downey Jr. When you think about these things, those are all products that were created by the efforts of so many other people other than just the one individual that was caught or was revealed to be not really the best person and revealed to have been problematic. And that's where I feel the separation of the art from the artist really needs to be paramount, because it's just how you can give the other people involved with that creation the appreciation that they've earned for their hard work. Their hard work should not be thrown away and burned because of what Justin Roiland did, or some tweets that Roseanne Barr said on Twitter, or any of these other things. Like, Nicolas Cage should not be canceled because he worked on some film directed by Richard Stanley, because Richard Stanley was charged with domestic violence. It's just, I just do not get why people think that this mindset of just destroying and just canceling everything is acceptable, and that should be the status quo. Because in my mind, I'm thinking of all the other people who did nothing wrong, who are getting punished for this, and no one is standing up for them. No one is coming to their defense. No one is fighting back against this. So these individuals are having their legacies tarnished and harmed on an equal level compared to the person who is responsible for the reason why any of this is happening. The guilty party, the guilty individual. And I know some people might say, well, what if some of these people were aware that something was happening and didn't stop it and so on? That's perfectly understandable. But if you don't have evidence that that's the case, you don't have anything to support that, then you have to go with what the law is supposed to do, which is somebody is innocent until proven guilty. And the fact that there's a thought in my head right now that that might be something that's considered wrong is disturbing. That the thought that innocent until proven guilty is now something that is questionable in society. That's messed up. It really is. It just shows how destructive and how out of hand cancel culture has gotten, because of the fact that now we're questioning whether people are even innocent before proven guilty. And I do have an exception when it comes to the way that I think about all of this. And no, it's not Roman Polanski, even though I can understand people's logic behind that. What he did was heinous and just despicable. But there were a lot of films that he did where he didn't do anything while he was creating or shooting the movie. So I just feel like the other people involved with the films that he did should not be punished for his actions. I feel the same way about Polanski's work as I do about others, like Justin Roiland and so on. Like the individual, cancel them, go after them. You know, they are fair game to me. The people who worked on the film or the show who have not been proven to be implicit on anything and are innocent, leave them alone. And by leaving them alone, don't just cancel everything that the accused or the proven criminal or the proven depraved sicko has done, because that's not fair. I keep repeating that, but that's the case. It's not fair. It's not fair to them. But when it comes to Victor Salva in particular, he's the one exception for me, because he abused one of the stars of the film Clown House on the set of that movie. So that is an instance of an artist murdering somebody and then doing a painting of that murder. You can't separate the art from the artist in that situation. But anything else, I'm going to separate the art from the artist out of respect for everyone else involved with that product and that project who didn't do anything wrong. And I mean, you could even apply that logic to Clown House. And if people want to do that, you know, I'm not going to really fight against that, because, you know, Sam Rockwell, it's one of his first film roles, and he doesn't deserve to be associated with Victor Salva and what he was convicted of for the rest of his life and the rest of his career. Um, Justin Long doesn't deserve that, and neither do other people who were involved with Jeepers Creepers, even though the Jeepers Creepers films did have a little bit of Salva's interests in those movies. But there are other elements and other people involved with those films that I don't feel should be canceled. I don't. Just because Victor Salva is a scumbag. That's just my personal viewpoint on things. Because I think that if somebody is innocent and they have not been revealed to have been interested in any of the depraved, sick things as someone involved with the production is, or haven't been involved with run-ins with the law, or haven't been arrested, or haven't been charged with anything, then they shouldn't be guilty by association. Period. And I got one more thing, one more little rant here, because this is a common rebuttal I see from people when you say, "Hey, let's take a step back, let's pause a bit and let's not cancel everything." And when you have that mindset, you have people come back at you and say some unbelievably asinine shit like this. "Oh, if you don't cancel everything, then you were advocating and you were supporting the actions of the individual who is accused of a heinous act or is convicted of a crime." And that is such bullshit. Especially if you make it a point to condemn and to not support the actions of that individual, like I have done numerous times throughout this video. I do not support the actions of any of these filmmakers or any of these producers who have done any of these heinous, disgusting, awful things. And I don't support them for being bad people. And I don't support bad people doing bad things, despite the fact that society is full of bad people. And just because I'm saying that society is full of bad people, that doesn't mean that I'm somehow, in some way, accepting and feeling like that behavior is okay. No, I'm just pointing out that it's a part of society and it's always been there and it will always be there. And I'm not going to make everything that a bad person creates or is involved with bad by default because of what they do when the film or the show isn't being filmed or recorded. I'm not doing that because I don't think that's fair. And then at the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm advocating or I'm supporting underage relationships or domestic violence because I don't want to cancel everything that Justin Roiland or some of these other people who have been accused of similar things in this industry have done. So, yeah, in conclusion, this cancel culture thing, it's out of control. It's becoming a total calamity, a total mess. And it's because people are afraid of facing reality. That's what it boils down to. So many people are afraid of facing what life is actually like. They have this imagined fantasy viewpoint of the world. And when their bubble is burst and reality is staring them in the face, it makes them feel so uncomfortable that they do anything that they can to reinforce that bubble, to make that bubble even stronger. And I think for a lot of people, it is a defense mechanism. And there are some people, though, who don't really know any other way to react. And for those people, I hope this video maybe makes them consider a different way of reacting to these kind of reveals when it comes to people who are involved with something that they enjoy in the media. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.